There's one mode in Battlefield 6 that keeps getting the exact same reaction from players. Comments like, "This is it. This feels like Battlefield. This should never leave." And that mode is Operations. And honestly, that's what makes this whole thing so frustrating, because the community has already told DICE exactly what works here. They've told them what feels special. They've told them what feels memorable. They've told them what feels closest to the identity of the series. And somehow, Operations is still being treated like it might just be a temporary feature. That would be a huge mistake, because Operations is not just some nice side mode. It might be the clearest answer Battlefield 6 has to the question of what this franchise is supposed to feel like now. To understand why players are locking into this mode so hard, you have to start with one simple difference. Most Battlefield modes give you moments. Operations gives you an arc. And that sounds like a small distinction, but it really isn't. In Conquest, you absolutely can have incredible moments. Clutch revive, a tank duel, a last second flag save. Those moments do matter. But the structure, it's broad and it's cyclical. You're jumping in and out of smaller stories. Operations changes that. Operations creates narrative momentum. You're not just fighting over points. You're advancing, or you're failing to advance. You're pushing a line, or you're losing a line. You're regrouping, reacting, adapting, and then trying again. And because the match has stages, every success or failure carries forward. A bad defense in Sector 1 changes Sector 2. A strong vehicle push in one phase changes the pressure in the next. A team that starts believing it can break through starts playing differently. That's why the mode feels so much more cinematic without really needing to fake it. It earns the drama structurally. This is the part that I think a lot of people overlook. Operations is memorable, but not just because it's big. Battlefield has always been big. It's memorable because it gives your memory a shape. Most shooters are good at giving you highlights. Operations is better at giving you a story you can actually retell. You remember the opening push, you remember the sector where your team almost broke. You remember the defense that somehow held on for one more minute, and you remember the final objective because it felt like the climax of something, not just another room in another match. That kind of emotional sequencing matters a lot, because players don't build long-term attachment from isolated fireworks. They build it from journeys. And Operations is one of the few modes in Battlefield 6 that consistently turns a random lobby into something that feels like a shared campaign. That is the Battlefield fantasy at its strongest. And this is where the conversation gets bigger than just one playlist. Battlefield has been stuck in an identity fight for years now. Every new release has to answer the same question. What actually separates Battlefield from every other big multiplayer shooter? And the answer has never just been bigger maps. It's never just been vehicles, and it's definitely never just been destruction. It's the feeling of being inside a war-sized scenario where your individual action still matters inside a much larger battle. Operations expresses that better than almost anything else in Battlefield 6. It takes scale, pacing, squad pressure, frontline movement and map progression, and it combines them into one format that feels authored but without feeling scripted. That's a big deal, because live service games need an anchor. They need one mode, one loop, one experience that tells players why this game deserves their time over and over again. Operations could be and should be that anchor. Now, to be fair, the critics have some points. Operations does have some problems. There are bugs, there are balance issues for sure. There are moments when certain sectors feel miserable for attackers. And yeah, there's probably some technical costs that make this mode harder to support than a simple playlist rotation. So if DICE made it permanent without really supporting it, that could absolutely backfire. Because a broken flagship mode is worse than a great limited time experiment. That's the strongest argument against making it permanent right now. Not that the mode is bad, but that the mode is demanding. And honestly, I think that concern is valid, but here's where I disagree with the conclusion. The answer to a demanding mode is not to sideline it. The answer is to commit to it. If a mode is the one place where your game feels most like itself, that's exactly the thing you invest in, not the thing you rotate out because it's inconvenient. So here's what I think the message DICE should be hearing from all of this. Players are not asking for operations because it's a novelty. They're asking for it because it solves a fantasy problem. It makes the game feel coherent. It gives sessions a shape. It gives victories context. It makes defeat feel like a campaign setback instead of just random scoreboard disappointment. And maybe most importantly, it gives Battlefield 6 players something to rally around. And that really matters for retention, because players don't stay in live service ecosystems just because there's new stuff to do. They stay because there's a core experience they want to keep coming back to. Operations is one of the few things in Battlefield 6 that feels like it could become a real community ritual. And if DICE lets that energy fade, they're not just losing a mode, they're losing momentum. So what should permanent operations actually mean? Not just leave it in the menu forever, it has to be deeper than that. First is stability. If this mode is going to represent the franchise, it needs consistent technical support, reliable transitions and regular balance passes. Second, integration. New maps, seasonal content, class changes and vehicle tuning should all be evaluated through the lens of operations, not added first and tested later. Third, scale. If the community wants larger versions of operations, DICE should really explore that seriously, because the appetite is clearly there and scale is part of the fantasy. But the main thing is this: operations should stop feeling like a side experiment and start feeling like a pillar. Because once players identify the part of the game that truly feels special, the developer's job is not to hide it in a rotation. Their job is to build around it. Operations matters because it makes Battlefield 6 feel less like a collection of systems and more like a war story generator. It gives the game identity, it gives matches memory, and it gives players a reason to care about what happens next. So no, in my opinion, this shouldn't be temporary. If anything, this is the mode DICE should be betting on the hardest. But what do you think? Should operations become a permanent pillar of Battlefield 6? Or do you think it's too complex, too buggy and too expensive to support long term? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you want more Battlefield deep dives like this, please hit like, hit subscribe to me, BucklingOne. I'm on the road to 10k this year. I really have a plan in place to try and get myself to 10k, so every little bit of support helps and I really appreciate it if you would. Just hit that like button, hit subscribe, and yeah, let me know if you enjoyed the video. But that is it from me. Thank you so much for watching. This has been BucklingOne. I'll see you in the next sector and I'll see you in my next video.